There's a huge number of pressures which we face as a society, things like climate change, plastic pollution, and there's human rights issues as well that need to be addressed.
So 1 in 9 people around the world are hungry right now, and they're in real danger of dying.
We're the first generation of leaders that can't say we didn't know. If we don't act, the consequences could be untold, and we are the last generation that can do anything about it. At Innocent, I think we set out right at the beginning of the company in 1999 with a really clear purpose to help people live well and die old, but that includes the planet as well. Obviously for our consumers and for our employees, it's also for those less fortunate than ourselves. So when it comes to health and nutrition, that's a really fundamental part of our purpose.
Our 3 founders set up the business as a way to make it easy for people to do themselves some good by crushing tasty fruit and vegetables into a bottle. Now, 20 years on, we're really proud of the 1 billion portions of fruit and veg we deliver every year to our drinkers across Europe, where people still are not getting enough fruit and vegetables. As well as making things that are good for our drinkers, it's also about a wider purpose of doing business in the right way. Better for the people that work for us and better for the planet. At the heart of Innocent is our commitment to doing business in the right way. A big part of that is supporting those less fortunate than ourselves.
The Innocent Foundation is a grant-making charity. Innocent Drinks gives 10% of profits to charity, and they give most of that to us. Now, our purpose is to help the world's hungry, so we give that money away to other charities who are doing phenomenal work around the world in lots of different areas to fight hunger. So back in 2014, the Innocent Foundation took a risk on working with a new partner called Action Against Hunger, and they had a really simple idea that if they could train community health workers based in some villages in Mali in West Africa, then those community health workers could diagnose and treat the children at home, eliminating that need to get to the nearest health clinic. We choose to focus on 2 particular areas, and one of those is severe acute malnutrition. Now, this is the most severe form of hunger. It affects children under 5. It's really simple to diagnose. You use a colour-coded measuring tape which you wrap around the child's upper arm. If it's green, then it means they're a healthy weight, but if it's red, it means they have severe acute malnutrition and they need urgent treatment. And then the treatment itself, it's this medicine, therapeutic food based on peanuts, and a child who is acutely malnourished needs 3 of these a day for normally between 4 and 8 weeks. The reason that those children rarely get the treatment they need is mostly because they're too far away from health centres, and we wanted to change that.
Nega bara bolle be min kan sisan ina ba sa demsen furake demsen chamant me sa samya konnana na devin nega nana ngini demsen sa nuara bana fana nuara.
So what this means is that community health workers like Hawa were trained on how to diagnose and treat children in their homes. Having Hawa living in the community, working with them, meant that they could get the treatment they needed really urgently. And that is one of the key reasons why treatment rates doubled. The results were so impressive that the government of Mali changed their model, and they trained health workers all over the country to treat acute malnutrition on top of a number of other treatments that they were providing. Even more excitingly is that 3 other African countries have launched pilots to see if they can replicate the results as well. It's so important because there are still more than 80 countries around the world where severe acute malnutrition is a real problem for children, and we're not going to stop until we've reached all of those 16 million children.
Our purpose is not only about making sure that we help people live well and die old, but the planet too, which is why we have had sustainability at the heart of Innocent from the beginning. We try to make choices that stand the test of time, not just for 5 years, but for the next 100 years.
Plastic isn't inherently bad, but plastic pollution is an absolutely massive issue, especially when plastic ends up in our oceans. Currently, we live in a society where we make things, we use them, and then we dispose of them. So it's an absolutely crazy system because it creates an incredible amount of waste. We would love to see a system in place where we actually truly value materials such as our bottles. And that system is called a circular economy. And we feel that really offers the chance to address the plastics pollution issue and truly value these materials. And just recently, we launched our most sustainable bottle yet, which is a bottle made from recycled content, but also from plant-based content. And the idea is that by 2022, every single one of the bottles which we make will be made from one of these renewable materials. And so there'll be no dependence on fossil fuel material from that point.
I think the challenge is that many businesses want to act, but they don't know where to start. B Corps are a group of companies that have come together to act and show that business can be a force for good. And we're trying to encourage more and more business leaders to adopt a balanced approach to how they think about their business. So to become a B Corp, you have to meet certain standards, so all businesses can understand, the framework that they need to follow. But I think it's more important about the voice that they choose to have and standing up for collective action to be a force for good and demonstrate that business can be part of the solution going forward, not part of the problem.
If you just remember one thing, I think it's that hunger is a solvable problem. We've halved hunger around the world since 1990, and we can get to zero hunger by 2030 if we all work together.
We're never going to solve any of these problems thinking pessimistically. The first step towards addressing these problems and creating that better future is to be optimistic about the fact that we can change things for the better.
Now is the time to act. Yes, there's a responsibility to future generations, but the impacts of these things are being felt every single day. I don't want to be a leader that looks future generations in the eyes and say, oh, we didn't do enough. And therefore I think acting now is the only way forward.